It's your boy, Cardinal Red, and we back for some more Ali Land boxing talk. So let's get it.
Thrown twice in this round. Hasn't capitalised on it just yet, but that moving close to the tag where Rigondeaux is a bigger arc. For me, I thought Lomachenko was the one landed with the cleaner shots. Again, he just punched. I think he's finished. Oh no, he's out. No, he's out. The corner.
We back for some more of that Ali Land boxing talk, y'all. Yeah, buddy. And today we're talking about the return of Guillermo Rigondeaux. And is his career over, or is he still a he only has one loss, so is he still a pound for pound number one within his weight division? I was glad to see, I was looking around on YouTube yesterday just to see what the new news was, and I was happy to see Guillermo Rigondeaux's face pop up, man. It's been a long time since I've heard anything about him or his career, or whether he's going to return to boxing or retire from boxing. He's one of my favorite fighters, for the few years that I have been watching him. It's kind of weird, man, how people kind of dismiss the fact that he decided to take, just to go on and bow out of the the Vasily Lomachenko fight. He decided not to come out of the corner, and his reason for doing that was he had a messed up left hand. He said he broke his hand. Some people say he bruised his hand. Some people say it was just swollen. But there was definitely something wrong with the first two knuckles on his left hand. And it seemed like people, especially in the sport of boxing, you're not afforded any type of excuse or leeway, whether you're injured or not. And the reason people seem to do this to you is because other boxers have fought through injuries, which is funny to me, because just because you break your leg and decide to play doesn't mean that the next guy can break his leg and keep playing. You know what I'm saying? It's not, everybody's built different, and some people are smart enough to know when to say enough is enough, because of the fact that injuries can be made worse by trying to continue, and especially when you don't actually know what's wrong. And in a sport like boxing, where your hands are your biggest I guess, how would I put that? Your hands are your main focus, man. I mean, it's the whole point of boxing, other than, it's hit and not get hit, hands and feet, basically. But your hands, I say, would be the more important part of boxing. So if you can't use your hands, to strike back, I mean, what's even the point, And really, I kind of see why he decided not to come out. I mean, because it was only two options of what was going to happen. Either the fight was going to continue the way it was, and he wasn't getting beat up or anything, but 4 or 5 more rounds of that, he might have gotten beat up. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't strike back, what's the point? Well, I mean, what else are you going to do? Just stand there and do what he was doing, which was trying not to get hit. So I really feel like maybe he was telling the truth, kind of like in the same situation of Pacquiao versus Mayweather, when he said, it was just painful for him to strike back. So, I mean, in those situations, what else do you do but just try to avoid, throwing a lot of punches, and move as much as you can, and try not to alert your opponent to what's really going on. So as far as Rigondeaux goes, as far as him deciding, I'm better off as a fighter, and I'm better off physically, if I just go on and bow out of this fight. He wasn't even making a lot of money off that fight, so for him to sit there and take punishment for fanfare for like $500,000-$600,000 is really doesn't make a lot of sense, if because he doesn't seem like he wants to retire, so he could have really done permanent damage to his hand to the point where he couldn't return to the sport of boxing. That might have been his retirement fight if he continued and tried to go 12 rounds with, actually punching back and trying to use the hand. So, as far as that goes, I don't see why people look down on Rigo so much for deciding, what, maybe I should just bow out of the fight instead of continuing to hurt myself and take punishment. And recently I heard, and I'm not going to repeat, everything that I heard in these videos and everything. He did put out a statement, but I would say about 10 other channels have already shared that statement, so what's the point of me repeating it? You can find it, it's out there. But he put out a statement about Lomachenko being around 160 pounds the night of the fight. And it's crazy because I had no idea that Lomachenko was actually walked around that big. But according to a few guys that I've watched on YouTube that have actually interviewed Vasily Lomachenko, they kind of agreed with what Rigondeaux was saying, that he walks around very heavy. And not to say he was cheating or anything, because if your fight's at 130, you make 130 and then you balloon back up to 145, 155, 160. That's not cheating or anything, it's just the way your body works. But for Rigo to be 130 exact, or 125, I think, the day of the fight, and Lomachenko to be 160 pounds, which is over 30 pounds of extra weight, that's not even a fair fight. So I don't blame, knowing all the facts now, Rigondeaux for saying, you know what, my hand's messed up. That's a minus. I'm not getting paid much of anything. That's a minus. And this guy is 32, 33 pounds heavier than I am. What am I setting myself up for here? Am I setting myself up for a career-ending knockout if I keep trying to take punishment and I can't throw back? Am I setting myself up to be, destroyed by fans because I decided not to fight? It was a no-win situation for Rigondeaux that night, unfortunately for him. He just wasn't going to win the fight, because of certain factors. And the way it played out for him, he wasn't going to win with the fans, because in the ring there was no way for him to win, so it was better off to me for him just to say, you know what, the fight's over with, man. There's no competition here. Let me just go on and take this loss and go on and cut my losses and not hurt myself any more than what maybe I already have. So, if you look at it from that standpoint, Rigondeaux wasn't going to win that night. Whoever set that up, whoever the forces behind the scene was who set the fight up and knew that, and here's the thing about boxing, to me, and injuries. Boxing is the only sport, it's a singular sport. It's you versus another guy, or you versus another lady. So, it's the only sport where you can't not show up because of an injury. Now, for some reason, people look at boxing and boxers like they're super gladiators. They never feel pain because you're taking punches or what. I don't know why, but you know, in boxing, it's crazy because this is one of the most hard sports and most dangerous sports, but you get no excuse for an injury that could actually be the determining factor for you winning or losing. Like, nobody gets leeway unless they come out there with a bone protruding through their leg. Like, man, I can't go tonight. You know, that seems like the only way people will give you some type of leeway. Like, oh, okay, his leg bone is sticking out, so he can't fight tonight. We'll wait till next week. But if a person come out there and be like, man, they go, 10, 15 rounds. I mean, not 15 rounds, but 12 rounds, and they lose, and people really expected him to win. And then the post-fight interview, he goes, man, I fell down a flight of steps a couple weeks ago, messed my ankle up real bad, and I just, I felt bad. They're gonna chew you up on social media and spit you out, call you all type of bums. And it's crazy when it might actually be true, and your attribute in boxing might be the fact that you're fast. So you falling down a flight of steps and messing up your ankle could really hinder your skill set and your abilities. But for some reason, in the sport of boxing, unlike basketball, football, and all these other sports where people get leeway for having injuries, it seems like in football is the only sport that people actually get leeway for having injuries, man. So football and basketball, but football more. But boxing is a harder sport than football. You know what I'm saying? It's only you versus another guy. It's not a team of people, who pick up the slack. So I don't get why boxers don't get any type of leeway when it comes to injuries, man. It's just not fair. If a guy's hurt, man. Him just showing up should show you how much of a warrior he really is. Him showing up and trying at least should be enough for the fans to say, you know what, he lost, but at least he can live and fight another day, man. At least his injury didn't put him in a position to get his face knocked into the mat. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys try to go when they're injured, and that's what ends up happening to them. They get a career-ending knockout for the fans because they wanted to be entertaining instead of smart, But hey, this is the sport of boxing. Like I said, man, a boxer could get hit by a car, nobody saw it, and he goes to try to fight the next day, and if he's undefeated, his fan base is gonna turn on him if he says, man, I got hit by a car yesterday, y'all, and that's the reason I couldn't go, and it's the reason I was a little slow tonight, and it's the reason I lost. And the fan base is gonna eat him up. There's just no excuses for some reason in boxing. There's no excuses for not performing at 100% every time the fans see you. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that fans don't get to see you that often, maybe twice a year, and it messes with the fan base to where they're like, man, we really wanted to see you go, and we just, we didn't get the opportunity to see what we wanted to see. But to me, it's still not fair, man. Boxing is one of the hardest sports that you could participate in, like I said, and for people not to afford the leeway that is deserved by a warrior, man, it's kind of a shame, man. But I'm glad to see Guillermo back. It's Ali Land Boxing Talk, people. Please hit that like and subscribe. We out of here. When a nigga didn't catch that time, dog, had to take that as a sign, dog.